What is going on, everybody? My name is Ciara Lawler. Welcome to another week of Movie Mondays. This is the Heroes for Hire podcast. We are back again talking all the week's movie news, entertainment news, and just generally having a bit of a chit-chat about everything to do with film. As always, I am joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Shaun Meehan. Shaun, how is it going?
I'm good. Thanks for reading my name like you just learned who your guest was for this episode.
I like to change it up. I'm taking a replacing you. I didn't want to say it.
Really? Okay. Mr. Ryan Reynolds. Oh,
that'd be a get. Oh, that would be a get.
Oh, that would be a get. Oh, God, he'd be so charming and funny the whole time.
I actually seen Free Guy last night.
Have you? Sorry. Yeah. We have a bit of a chat usually before the show, but this didn't come up. How was Free Guy? Is it any good?
It's actually a unique idea that is pretty good, although it's got heavy vibes of the Lego movie, like the start.
Right.
Where you have a guy who lives in a basically Matrix type world, doesn't realise he's in it until like this really cool girl shows up and she's got loads of guns and she's really badass and he's like, whoa.
Night Style, correct.
It's just that.
That's fair, because I read a few reviews. Fair, cool. I might give it a go, because I read a few reviews and it was a damning review, because they were like, this movie is just going to try and coast off Ryan Reynolds being the person that he is.
I think a little bit of that. But he's a very, very charismatic and likeable human being. So why wouldn't
very
you?
True. Like myself.
And you'd be an idiot. You'd be an idiot if you had Ryan Reynolds in a film and went, yeah, let's dull him down. Because people will like that.
Ryan, dial it back a bit, okay?
People don't like your shtick, Ryan. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's got Taika Waititi being full-on just douchebag, but apparently they've got so many outtakes or just improv lines that he had that they could have done a whole separate film of just all his stuff.
Of just him in the background orchestrating things.
Yeah. So that's our random piece of movie trivia.
That's the full episode for this week, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Full review of Free Guy. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Sorry, give it a go.
So, Shaun, this is Movie Mondays. We normally get straight into it. I will say, though, that if you are interested in full-length movie reviews, we do them over on our Patreon. And we did them last week right here for free, as we reviewed The Suicide Squad, if you want to go back and check that. But if you want to get even more reviews, we're over the Patreon. The link is down below. We've reviewed, I don't know how many movies over the last few years. Quite a lot. You get access to all of them for $5 or more a month.
That's it. And look, if you personally have wanted to know whether there is something on the back of the Declaration of Independence, our most recent review might give you some indication as to how feasible that whole process would be.
All you need is a madman. All you need is Mr. Cage.
You need Mr. Cage, and you need O'Reilly. O'Reilly is key to the whole
I'm not
situation.
going back into Riley. You'll hear my thoughts on Riley in the review. So, Shaun, we are starting this week with some pretty big news. It's from a movie that you and we both seen, and we both thought, that's a bad idea. But you know what Hollywood does? What do they like doing?
Bad ideas and sequels and reboots.
Yes, all of those things. Because Miss Emma Stone has signed back on for the sequel to Cruella. We're getting another one, Shaun. That's right.
Okay, so following the naming conventions of movies in this associated universe, this is going to be called 102 Cruellas, correct?
Yes, I can only assume.
Right, and is this happening after she's suing Disney for breaching a contract?
So that isn't. We missed all of that, by the way. That we took our week off, and it was literally the day after we took our the start of our week off. On the Monday,
all of that
out.
Kicked off,
and I just I looked at my Twitter and I just rolled my eyes of course, the 1 week. But I mean, this is in the wake of Miss Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit and all of that stuff. Now, as of last week, apparently she was reportedly weighing her options on the matter, but she never went through with joining Scarlett Johansson on the what should I say, the legal front. So
yeah, on the courtroom floor, if you will.
Yeah, if you will, yes. But what happened was Scarlett Johansson went through with it, and then the rumours were Emma Stone might be joining her. And now the news is that she is signed on for Cruella 2. So what do you make of that? Where are we?
Okay, so what we have here is that there's a movie that I didn't think needed to exist is now getting a sequel.
You're goddamn right. We need more of it.
So look, we like Emma Stone on this podcast. She's been in very good things.
Very talented woman.
She's been in the pinnacle of Spider movies. She has started.
Amazing Spider-Man 2. Of course.
Spider-Man 2, correct. But I will confess, I've not seen Cruella. It's not a movie that interests me. But from the description I got and the trailers I saw, I don't know if that movie warrants a sequel. Because that first movie was meant to be Cruella coming into her own and owning herself as a person, despite the fact that her mother was killed by Dalmatians.
That's the best part of the whole film, Shaun. There's a scene where a bunch of Dalmatians kill someone, and I think every movie would be improved if that scene was included.
If that was the ending to Endgame, I would be a happier man.
That's how Tony Stark went. Thanos is about to snap him in two, and just all these dogs just come over the hill. You're just like, fuck it.
The thing is, it's Disney. Like, those assets probably live on the same server. So someone, maybe a listener, could tie those two assets together.
Now, it is strange, because I think the movie only grossed like 230 million or something. But it was, right. Of course, we say only, but it's the same with the Suicide Squad lately. There's a whole thing going on that's making people not kind of want to go to the cinema. You've probably noticed. Also, there's streaming services now. So I think they made an extra 21 million or something on the Disney Plus thing as well. So like 250 million, all said and done. But, I mean, it did get a 97% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So
yeah, it's a positive audience review.
The fans are there. The idea is that this movie came out and we thought, this seems like a bit pointless. Emma Stone, very talented. It's a bit weird, but okay, let's see what happens. Then this movie came out, you thought, okay, that's a fun one and done. What can you do? It is a bit wacky, but I think they pulled it off, kind of.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's the Cruella movie. That's what that looks like. And now we're done with it, and that's the end of the Cruella verse that they're setting up. But I don't know, does that kind of movie warrant a sequel, really?
When does she become Glenn Close is the real question.
See, this is the thing, because no one's ever done that role better than Glenn Close, in my opinion. So, here's the thing, is that Cruella as a movie, I don't think should exist. So by extension, I think Cruella 2 is a pointless endeavour. Same way I think Joker 2 is a pointless endeavour. But now it's even more removed from the source material. So I'm curious what they would do with a second film. Because they've already had...
I was going to say, does she go more mad? Or does she become more redeemed?
That's the that's the question, because I was under the impression that Cruella, the movie Cruella, would be about, whatever her name was before she was Cruella de Vil, becoming Cruella de Vil that we know from the 101 Dalmatians movie. But it seems like now she's kind of in an in-between point where maybe they'll go off into a branching universe where she's founds a fucking dog rescue or something like that. She's
a bit of an anti-hero when you really think about it, isn't she?
In many ways, yeah. Because what they're going to have to do what they're doing with Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, where they introduce a worse version of Cruella de Vil for Cruella de Vil to be the protagonist against.
I just want to skin 103 Dalmatians. Okay, fucking hang on.
Come on. Dial it back a bit.
Dial it back at least one. For God's sake.
At that point, you have the Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, you do. So I am interested to see where they go with this. But once again, I think you're right. I think this kind of falls for me in the Joker 2 realm, where it's kind of like the first one could just have been a fun for one and done. You get out. It's a unique idea. Everybody's doing it these days. That they're like, we're going to take the villain, give them an origin because that's cool. And that's fine. Make a movie, make your money. But when you start doing 2s and 3s, this is when I'm like, lads, do something else.
Just on this as well, do you feel the goalposts have shifted for what a successful movie is? Because with The Global Bastard, as we call it here locally on the show, like, Cruella made, what'd you say, $215 million? Something like that? Yeah, and Black Widow made about the same. Is that would probably be considered a good release in the times we're living in terms of like cinema budgets and things like that, and including the Disney Plus Premier Access that they did for those. So do you think, because I'm thinking down the line with like the likes of Shang-Chi and things that are coming out in September, which apparently is not getting a Disney Plus release.
I seen that this week, that they're not releasing that on Disney Plus because they're like, we're not giving them the chance.
So, do you think that, like, if that got 200 million at the box office, would that be considered a success or a failure in the times that we're living
in? See, it's interesting because that's a whole big discussion on. They could just literally look at Shang-Chi and go, oh, nobody wants that. It only made 200 million. But they'll look at Black Widow and be like, oh, everyone loved that because it made 250 million. But it's because Black Widow's, she's already a set-up force and Shang-Chi is brand new. So it'd be very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy or Black Panther. Coming out, they make 200 million. They're like, okay, well, that's a risk that didn't work out. We're not going to do that again. But they came out to gangbusters. They came out to loads of money. They were like, fuck it, let's do it again. Whereas I think the goalpost would be changed slightly. Depending on the movie, I suppose. And depends on the studio as well.
Yeah, that's true. Because like looking at it there, I looked this up just now, is Black Widow had a budget of around $200 million, made a box office of $367.8 million. Which technically is considered a failure because it didn't make double the budget. Because when marketing and things are worked into it and things like that. So, and that's, as you say, an established character in an established universe. So, how well is Cruella 2 gonna do? Like, and I suppose that might release in a time... I'm not even going to say in a time when things are back to normal, but in a time when cinemas might be more accessible, perhaps.
Yeah. Look, I think it's all up in the air. For the minute, what's important is that they're definitely doing number 2, and if that does well, they will definitely do a number 3. And at some point, that woman has to decide that she wants to skin some dogs, and I think at that point, anti-hero kind of goes out the window.
I think, wouldn't it be amazing if we had a heel turn and she just full on skinned a dog in the movie?
The start of the next one is her just grabbing a poodle. Fucking come here.
Like, it opens to the sound of sharpening a cleaver. Like,
and all the kids in the audience are like, what's going on?
What's going on here? Actually, sorry, speaking of kids in audience, I don't know if I've ever told you this before. But I went to the cinema like the week Inside Out opened in cinemas. I went with a few friends, and we got to the end of the film where, spoilers for Inside Out, the girl is the young girl is running away from home, and her parents like come and find her at the bus station and take her, and she's okay. At that moment, a child in the cinema burst out crying and she screamed, "I want my daddy." And I was like, oh, this is a harrowing moment for everyone involved.
But you know what? If Pixar were there, they'd go, yes! We did it!
Yes! She'll never forget that movie.
Now let's fucking show her up. Where's this young one?
Oh God, let's show her Cruella 4.
So Shaun, we're going to have to move on to our next piece of news. And this involves one of our favourite people involved in the film. It's Mr. Taika Waititi. And
Taika. What's Taika up to?
so, not only is he involved with Free Guy, not only is he involved with Thor 4, Thor 4, Thor, but surely they just do the number 4 and HOR, or am I just crazy?
What I think they should do is 4 Love and Thunder. I think that would be a great title for it.
Ah, good. Well done, yes. But Taika Waititi's also involved with another project that it's a property that you kind of like, Shaun, and it's kind of big, and that is Star Wars. Because Taika Waititi is, of course, we all forget, I think, because he's involved in so many things, he's doing his own Star Wars film. And he was asked about it in a recent interview with Wired, because he's, of course, doing the press junket for Free Guy. And he was asked, how's it going? What stage is it at the minute? And he said that this the script is all done. Now he's putting his focus on Star Wars at the minute. They've got a story, they don't have the script done, but they've got the whole story. And he says, in his own words, I'm really excited by it because it feels very me. Which, I heard that and I thought, that's not going to work in Star Wars, holy shit.
Yeah. Lucasfilm is not happy, I would say.
Personality? Oh no!
But, like, very Taika Waititi could be a selling point for a movie at this point. Like, because of the success mainly of Thor Ragnarok. And also, like, the fairly well, like, established critical success of things like Jojo Rabbit and Hunt for the Wilder People and things like that. Like, he's become kind of a household name overnight, so I feel like he can do what he wants. Same as James Gunn, the way he got free reign with Suicide Squad. I feel like they might just give him free reign with Star Wars. And I feel like that might be more polarising than what Rian Johnson did with Star Wars.
I think this is going to be more. Like, from what people thought of 8, this is going to be more. But the one thing that we know with Taika Waititi, especially with Jojo Rabbit, is that he can kind of trick you. So he can make you laugh for the whole film. And then at the end you're like, oh shit, he's making me feel something. Like, he may have been your daddy, but he wasn't your father, kind of thing. Or no, it's the other way around. He may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy.
Yeah, and like in Jojo Rabbit, like the example I gave for how Taika Waititi can, the shoes, man, like that's the benchmark for, here's a traditionally fairly comic director able to deliver an emotional gut punch that sticks with you. So, and that could work in a Star Wars universe.
But you have to buy in. That's the problem. And we've seen with Rian Johnson that a lot of people involved with Star Wars or who love Star Wars, they didn't like Rian Johnson. But I think Taika has a bit more, I suppose, he's got the backing. Like, we've seen him do space movies before, and he's also quite likeable. And so I think it's very hard to not go in and be like, okay, well, give him the benefit of the doubt, and you have to surely know what you're looking for in this film.
I feel there is a good intersection of Marvel fans and Star Wars fans, especially now under the Disney umbrella.
They're all under the same people.
Yeah, and like, I feel like Taika might have a certain amount of good faith generated among those fans, whereas Rian Johnson was coming in fairly, like, look, he had done amazing things. He had done a good few episodes of Breaking Bad and things like that when he came into Star Wars, but nothing in the same wheelhouse, I would say. Whereas I feel like in the new era of Disney's Star Wars, with things like The Mandalorian and Bad Batch and all that kind of thing, there's room to deal with the universe in other ways other than the one hero versus one bad guy kind of thing that they built up in
and is the one bad guy movies. Is the one bad guy someone we know?
Look, I have this theory, okay, so there's a little known character called Emperor Palpatine.
Anyone heard of him? He's coming back. Imagine he brought him back.
See, with Taika Waititi, I could fully see an Emperor Palpatine impersonator being a main plot point in this.
Or it could be a situation where someone's like, he's back, and then they kill him in 10 seconds, and then just move on to the real villain of the film. It's like, oh no, he's back. It's like the first action set piece.
And it turns out like, oh, Darth Vader's back. Oh no.
They're all back. Maul, Vader and Palpatine in a line. He's like, oh no, they're all... And our heroes have no interest. They're like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I got another plot over here.
It's set like an hour and a half after episode 9. And it's just a puppet show recapping everything that went on.
He's also doing Flash Gordon at the minute, the live action Flash Gordon.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in the past, and that's a really good fit for such a campy, dumb show from the 80s.
So he's doing like all of this stuff at once, along with like he's also working on a sequel to What We Do in the Shadows. So he's doing Flash Gordon, What We Do in the Shadows, the Star Wars film, and Thor, all at the same time.
I feel like most of that, and no discredit to him at all, it's an amazing achievement. I feel like after Thor Ragnarok came out, he was the hottest commodity in Hollywood at the time. And he just took projects that he liked, and now he's just working away on them. They'll come out when they come out, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think the fact that he is co-writing and directing this Star Wars film, he's co-writing with it with Christy Wilson Cairns, who wrote 1917. So you've got like a weird mixture there of like war film and then Taika combined together.
Because you have a really like grounded film with a lot of heart and realism in it, and then you have Taika fucking Waititi doing whatever he wants.
Could he? I mean, this is a very big question. Very early on, I'm looking for very broad predictions. Very early.
Right.
You've seen nothing. We've seen no footage.
Kang the Conqueror will not show up.
I'm going to ask, will he reinvigorate the Star Wars franchise? That is a very broad question, and it's very early in the process, so please feel free. I'm aware, but go on. Let's speculate.
No, very good. It's a fair question. My thoughts on this, I feel like there is a certain amount of the franchise reinvigorated at the minute already because of Mandalorian
because of Jon
and Bad
Favreau.
Batch. Because of Jon Favreau, exactly. And I feel like with enough differentiation from those kind of projects, then you might get a certain bracket of the Star Wars fans that like certain things about the original movies. You might alienate some of the fans who like, here's the story about the bounty hunter, and it's very ground level in terms of the whole galaxy. But if it's, a load of aliens cursing at each other for 90 minutes, that might not be everyone's cup of tea. I think Taika Waititi, for as like broad appeal as he has, I think he could be quite polarising in such an already established universe. But I personally am curious to see it. Also,
I think I would just feel that Star Wars is big enough that you can have multiple vibes from multiple different places. If you want your serious stuff, go to this place. If you want your jokes, go to this place. Depending on mood you have. Why? And I mean, we're not on the payroll, but they're under the same big umbrella of Disney. Why Marvel works is because they have these different films. Like, The Winter Soldier is completely different to Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're in the same universe. But depending on your mood, like, you might sit down and go, I might watch Guardians of the Galaxy if I'm looking for a comedy, or I'm looking for a spy drama. Might look at Winter Soldier. It's a case of Star Wars is just as big. Go to somewhere in the fucking galaxy and have some really serious shit, and somewhere else where everybody's an idiot.
You have these corners of the universe that you can just set up camp in for whatever you feel like. So if you want a grounded, pretty much a Western story, watch The Mandalorian. If you want a comedy, probably, and we're assuming at this point, but if you want a comedy, watch the Taika Waititi stuff. If you want, good character development, watch episodes 1 and 2 of the Star Wars franchise. And And if you want a fucking bore fest, watch the original trilogy, I guess.
Or maybe like the Obi-Wan series. Bleh. Fuck off.
Who cares about that?
But Shaun, we're going to have to move on because we have been talking about this, because I have news just for you that I've thrown in just for you. And that
National
is...
Treasure Tree.
Not that lines, but same love level, I would say. And it's a movie you brought up a few months ago. A sequel could be happening with a movie involving Mr. Hugh Jackman and director Shaun Levy. Real Steel 2.
What? Really?
It's been a decade.
Yes. Give it to me. Give me Hugh Jackman being a boxing coach for robots.
Now, here's the thing. I had never heard of Real Steel until you brought it up on the show, and you gave a really impassioned 5-minute speech about how much you love this film and how great it was, and I think completely derailed whatever news story we were talking about that day. But Shaun, my only question is, what is Real Steel, and why should we be excited about number 2?
Right, okay, so basically the first one is that Hugh Jackman is an out-of-work boxer, and he becomes the owner of a robot who is also a boxer. And basically, it's a whole movie. It's about, like... It could have been told in the 20s with regular boxers as, like, owing gambling debts. It's that kind of a story. And learning to love your coach and all this kind of shit. But it's a robot and Hugh Jackman.
Of course.
So it's fun. And so... The what's the fucking robot's name? I think it's like Molecule. No, it's Atom or some shit like that. And Atom becomes at the end, because he's such an underdog, Atom, Hugh Jackman's robot, becomes like the people's champion.
Oh, of course, like The Rock.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone's rooting for this one robot. So I guess now you have a situation where they leave on top. Like, the underdog has become the top dog, and like they're both at the height of their careers. And then I guess you have the robot in the sequel fall from grace.
He gets fat. The robot gets out of shape. It's hard to wake up and train when you're in those silk robes. You know what I mean?
It's
what he's
so
got
tough.
to his head.
And every time you try to put a towel around a robot, they just rust. Like, it's fucking murder.
It's not good, but they are going to be doing a sequel. The original movie. Also, I know why it was brought up, because we were talking about Rock'em Sock'em Robots, which stars Vin Diesel, and that they announced, I think, in May of this year. And so you brought this up as this is way better. And something I found out just reading this article is that apparently Real Steel made the top 10 most watched titles on Netflix during lockdown.
Honestly, it's genuinely great, like, as a movie, because
and so I have never seen it. I feel like I'm missing out.
Can I spoil a bit of it for you? It's like the climax of the movie, so I'm not sure I want to even spoil it.
Oh, well, you know what? I think I'll be okay to live with myself if you do.
Right. So at the end of it, Atom is damaged. So what happens is Hugh Jackman, the ex-boxer
gets in,
who's been down as he links in and he boxes the robot as Hugh Jackman, but through a robot. It's fucking amazing.
Oh my god. They're going to be doing a number 2. I don't know. I was about to say, will people care? But it's a top 10 stream thing on Netflix. Maybe they will.
I think it's I don't know if it's a good cinema movie. I think it's a really good Netflix movie.
And also, is it going to be like Rocky 2? Is the main question.
Oh, well, if it was like Rocky 3, we'd be sorted, but we're not quite there yet.
No, it's Rocky 2. He has to lose. So the robot has to, like, be down and out. Or he's on top. Then he goes to a big fight. He's too cocky. Then he loses.
See, because it's a robot, you could do the thing that, like, Hugh Jackman couldn't handle the success and he sells the robot. You know? And then, like, the robot's fighting and winning, but, like, the robot learns to love at the end of it. And he's like, I miss that huge jacked man I used to hang out with.
We all feel that, though. We all feel the robot is just a robot, but he's just like us.
the robot is the everyman in this scenario.
We all miss Hugh Jackman when he's not around.
But like, I think this might be in production simply because of that Vin Diesel Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie.
As a fuck you.
As a fuck you, or as a, okay, we need to protect our intellectual property here, so let's just make another one just in case.
And I think if we're all honest with ourselves, if we seen a robot movie starring Hugh Jackman come out and a different robot movie starring Vin Diesel come out, I think we all know which one we're going to see, and it's not the man with La Familia.
No, there's no La Familia in Rock'em Sock'em Robots, you see. But there is La Familia in Real Steel 2.
Do you work for Real Steel 2?
Well, Two Steel, we would call it in office.
By the way, that would be so us if we didn't get on the payroll of Marvel or DC, but you somehow wormed your way into the payroll of Real Steel, the franchise.
Can we look, for people that don't know, we do a Patreon hat every month, which is where we have a load of movies in the hat, we pull one out and we do a review of it. Can I, without any listener ever asking for it, can I add Real Steel to the hat?
No.
Oh.
No, fine. Okay, we will add it in.
Listeners, I have a favour to ask you.
Patrons, please.
Patrons, please. Just one of you is all I need.
You see, they're focused. They threw in Daredevil, Batman and Robin. They don't like us. And they know I don't want to watch this. So guaranteed, National Treasure.
National Treasure.
Watch that.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Connor.
That was pretty good.
Nah, it was shit. It's the worst movie we've ever watched together.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Batman and Robin.
We can both agree that one of those was terrible.
Oh, Clone Wars.
Clone Wars. Actually, look, your past faults are forgiven if anyone suggests Real Steel for that. Please, that's all I need.
Faults. You're just negging them.
Not just in relation to that. I will absolve you of sins if you submit Real Steel.
Bless us. You have been blessed.
I know what our Christmas movie is.
So we're moving on, Shaun, to our next piece of news. And this involves a movie you mentioned earlier on with the news of Cruella. And that was that Tom Hardy has come out and he is discussing Venom 2. Because that movie is, it's coming out, Shaun. Let there be carnage. We're all
come hell or high water, that movie is coming out.
Mm-hmm. And so more trailers are coming every single day. But Shaun, Venom 2 has Sony reportedly, very, very pleased about how it turned out, and that Tom Hardy is already thinking about Venom number 3. Oh yes!
Okay, before we get into any concept about Venom 3 or anything like that, they are definitely calling it V3NOM, right?
Oh, if they don't, they're idiots.
It
is Sony, though.
It is Sony. That's the thing.
They'd call it Venom number 3. Yes.
They'd call it Venom the Third.
Venom the Third. Venom the third movie of our series of Venom films would be what it's called.
In the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, isn't that what they call it?
So the report is that they are very pleased with how number 2 has turned out, and that Tom Hardy is already kind of planning a third one, because of course it won't be greenlit until the second one is successful, but the studio were really, really pleased with number 2, was his exact quote.
Right. So that's the studio, though. Like, I feel we can never trust studios, because a studio gave a standing ovation to Batman vs Superman.
I was literally just about to bring that up. After that news came out, I remember walking, I think I was in college, and I walked in the next day, all cocky, yes, this movie's going to be fucking fantastic.
And that's when you stop trusting the media.
Never believed them.
It's... Okay, I'm glad that the multi-billion dollar studio is happy with the movie they made. That's good that they haven't decided it's shit. But I feel they also have some level of bias involved in that.
Also, I'm pretty sure Tom Hardy is signed on to play Eddie Brock for a trilogy. Like, it's in his contract. So I think they already had 3 of them lined up because they knew the first one was going to make money. And, I mean, Tom Hardy, very talented man. So get him involved. You hopefully will make a lot more money. Venom is a very well-known property. You don't have Spider-Man, but he's like second best you could get. So...
Just on that, like I saw a news report earlier in the day that apparently it's really telling of how like a news source will generate a story, because it was like Tom Hardy would love to work with Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and like you read through it and the interviewer just asks like, oh, and would you like to work with would you be interested in like Venom meets Spider-Man? And Tom Hardy effectively just went like, yeah, Tom Holland seems cool.
But that's, see, any of these press junkets, like, you have to go through the quote, because all of it is just shit. Most of it, as you said, is them throwing a name and then being like, what do you think of the Rock? It's like, oh yeah, he's pretty big. Like, he's a nice man. And then the next day is just like, Vin Diesel wants to fight the Rock. He said he was big.
Said it was huge. Yeah, like, so you have to take that kind of stuff with a grain of salt. Look, in many ways, I'm glad Tom Hardy likes playing this character. I'm glad he's happy with what they're doing with it, because the worst thing is when an actor is like feels underutilized in the role. Not to bring Jared Leto into things, but
speaking of Jared, Morbius.
Oh,
Morbius is in the same universe, and I'm pretty positive we got our first sign, because the director this week, Daniel Espinosa, mentioned that he was very happy working with all of these different actors.
Yes.
And he was saying, something about Michael Keaton and Jared Leto, and then he just reeled off Tom Hardy's name. So I'm pretty sure that means we're getting Venom in Morbius.
See, this fucks the whole thing, because in Morbius we are apparently getting Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, or the Vulture, who was the Vulture in the Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yes.
So, in a way, Venom and Tom Holland's Spider-Man are in the same universe. Is that correct?
But technically, there's a multiverse situation occurring right now. So they always have that get out clause.
That's very true. And also the graffiti of Spider-Man in the Morbius trailer that's on like the wall of the alley, that's ripped from the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Yes. So this is the Spider-Man PS4 game universe.
I guess, or unless in the Marvel Cinematic Universe there exists the same Spider-Man PS4 game that exists in our universe.
Oh, my head hurts. I think what's happening is Venom is appearing in Morbius, and so maybe they work together as two anti-heroes to stop somebody else. Or Eddie Brock is just there. Or Eddie Brock is just there as a journalist for some reason.
We didn't really talk about the Venom trailer in full because it kind of came out in our week off. The effects on Carnage do not look very good. I understand it's a trailer, but they still do not look very good in that. But Venom actually looks, I think, better than the first movie.
They put all the budget into that.
That maybe it's as if he's appearing in multiple films across multiple universes, perhaps.
Multiple studios might be putting together what they have.
Maybe they have that Marvel money now.
Oh shit, so maybe we could be getting a Tommy Holland. Maybe Tommy Netherlands could be appearing.
He did go to the Netherlands in Far From Home, didn't he?
He did. That's where they got the idea. Me.
That's where he got his last name from.
The man. The family name. But yeah, so we're now aware that they are probably going to be working for a Venom 3. We haven't seen Venom 2. This is always a bad sign for a studio when you start doing third ones before the second one is good. But hopefully they've seen it, and the studio execs, maybe this is the one time we can believe them, Shaun. Maybe this is the one where they've made a movie themselves and they've thought, that's good.
Maybe all those millionaires understand hard graft and creative passion.
Although the best one of any of them when they show it to the crew or to the studio will forever be the Phantom Menace on that Star Wars documentary, when they show it to everybody, and this is like the first time all the crew have seen the film like finished, and at the end of it it goes down and George Lucas just stands up and is just like, everybody leave, and it's just him and like 2 other people, and he's just like, maybe we've gone too far.
yeah like when a movie screening ends with everybody leave, don't talk to each other.
So Shaun, we're going to move on to our next piece of news, and this piece of news is only here because it made me laugh because of how absurd it is. So earlier on in the show you were talking about how much money you think Shang-Chi could make. So how much did we put on it there?
I think around 300 million, say. Like,
it's
with a cinema release. Yeah, it's a pandemic.
So
it's a pandemic, guys. Come on.
It is a pandemic. So, I mean, what's interesting, though, is there's a little movie that's coming out, that is finally coming out, over 2 years after it was meant to come out. And that is No Time to Die, Shaun.
I was hoping it would be No Time to Die, Connor.
And we have found out how much No Time to Die has to make to break even.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Is it more than any movie has ever made in history?
Now, remember, this movie was originally made when there was nothing resembling a pandemic. So
this movie was...
when it thought... just when Avengers Endgame had made $3 billion.
Yes, but this movie had also been, like, scheduled to come out for years and had already been delayed. Like, from what I remember, we were on the radio talking about this particular Bond movie coming out in September of 2018? Was that right?
I think it might be 2018, yes.
Yeah, and then it got delayed to 2019, and then May of 2020. Definitely, lads. No Time to Die is coming out May of 20... Oh, God, no. And then...
Now, the last 2 films, Skyfall, made $1 billion. So,
yeah,
I mean...
Bill.
It made a cool mill. Spectre made a little less. It made like 880 million. So, I mean, what can you do? But this is after coming out. So, I mean, the biggest movie of the pandemic so far has been Fast and Furious 9, which, after its whole run, made nearly $650 million.
That's impressive. Given the circumstances,
because all of the rest of those films broke $1 billion easy, so they're all like I think number 7 is the top 10 grossing movies of all time. So 650 is like coming in big. We have found out that No Time to Die, a movie that will definitely not make this, has to make $900 million to break even.
Oh, no. They're going to lose so much money.
I seen that headline and it was one of those double takes where I read it and I went, wait, what? No hope of making 900 million.
No, honestly, probably not in regular times would it make that much money.
So where they come up to this is that the original movie cost $214 million to make. All together. So now that was originally. So a year later, that has risen to around $226 million or $314 million. Once marketing costs come into play, that rises to $500 million, and then they have to bring in the box office figures that they have to pay out to the cinemas, MGM, and all of the streaming services, and basically everybody else. And so they have to spend another $450 million to pay everybody else off because it's been put off for so long. I think there was a figure that for every month it was gone, like it cost them a substantial amount of money for every month that it wouldn't come out, and that was like 2 years ago.
And it's just been ticking over since then. Wasn't there a thing not too long ago that they tried to sell it? to streaming services, and they wanted
for 800 million or something.
800 million, which presumably at the time that would be the amount that they would have broken even at.
Yeah, and so now this movie, this James Bond film that is scheduled to release on the 30th of September is going...
Oh no. Oh no. It's not summer blockbuster. It's not Christmas family film, lads.
It's right in the middle of Delta. They're coming in hot.
It's in the middle of Delta. All the kids are back at school.
Yeah.
Holidays are over.
Yes.
And people are starting to save for Christmas.
I'm thinking it could break 6 billion.
I'm thinking Avatar 5 money.
Look, poor Daniel Craig. Sometimes you just read a headline and you think, oh, Daniel, what has gone wrong?
Like, Daniel Craig is still going to have to do... Like, next month, he's going to have to be doing promo for that film.
And he's like, just bring me back to Knives Out 2. I don't care.
I just want to make Knives Out, guys. I just want to be a detective.
And so, yeah, they have to make $900 billion to break even, which means they're
900 billion, you say?
Oh, sorry, 900 million, I should say. So, I mean, it must feel like 900 billion.
It might as well be, like, really.
They're not going to make it. If that movie makes 900 million, I think the two of us will have to do some mad shit as a concession, because I'd be fairly confident that movie will definitely not break, what we said, 300 million? 400 million?
I would give it 5. I would give it 500 million.
Okay.
Look, lad, if it drinks 500, if it crosses 500 million in profit, I will, what will I do, Connor? I will drink a load of cans and then do the podcast.
That's your daily routine.
No, not daily, please.
We only record some days. So.
Yeah, bi-weekly maybe.
So we're moving on to our next piece. That story is just there to laugh, because it made me
just
giggle.
to laugh at others' misfortune.
I just laugh at Daniel. Is there ever been a more cursed production? I feel like there's probably those ones with ghosts and like two people randomly did stuff that is bad, like, or I don't know, maybe a death or two, but
maybe a death or two.
In terms of cursed production where nobody was harmed, I feel like this is a lot.
Yeah, I think so. Like, look, maybe Daniel Craig made a deal with some kind of demonic figure and is like, I just want to play Benoit Blanc forever. And it's like, okay, but you have to also promote Skyfall for the rest of your... Or No Time to Die for the rest of your life.
No, Skyfall. He has to promote a movie already out.
I feel he'd be more fine with that than doing No Time to Die.
I think so. So, Shaun, we're moving on to our next piece of news, and I have a rumour about a certain film that you know and I know as the Flash movie.
Do we know it as the Flash movie or that movie that's never coming out?
I think it's called The Flash.
Right. Okay.
We can only go off that. But, Shaun, we know that all these people are appearing in it. We've got Ben Affleck. We've got Mr. Keaton. We've got Ezra Miller. There's a whole host of people. He's going around to all these different universes and on timelines, and they're doing Flashpoint. It's a pretty big deal. What we don't know, and what's interesting, is who the villain is of the movie.
Yeah. Perhaps it's society, Connor.
We do live in a society.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Perhaps it's Robert De Niro as a talk show host. Can we bring that back again?
But what this report states, Shaun, and now I will admit that this is just a rumour, but it does seem to have a bit of, I was going to say legs, but that seemed like a flash pun, that... Because we have never... We'll
run with it. It'll be fine.
Ah, well done. But I don't need these jokes. What we don't know is who the villain is, as I said. But what would make sense is that this report states that the villain is another Barry Allen. That's right. It's a Flash. Other Flash villain, which I think the TV show does every season. So I think, why not?
Yeah. I used to work with someone and they watched The Flash like week on week. And every week it was like, what? Someone faster than the Flash?
You have to have the moment where he tries to punch them super fast and they dodge it, and he has that moment on his face like, oh shit, these guys are faster than me.
They can keep up with me, oh no.
It's my one thing.
And is it a Flash from... Because we've had Flash, what's the name of the one that's the Flash, but he's evil, but it's...
Reverse Flash.
Is it Reverse Flash?
There
was another name. Who was it in? I think it was in like season 4. Not even. See, again, it's a different dude.
I'm just going to keep saying Flashes.
Eve. Okay, this is going to be the worst
West,
Google search.
Mr. West.
Do you know, is Wally West? Wally West is in The Flash, I think.
I think he is now. Show. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with season 6 or season 7 or whatever they're on.
Top 10. Because he looks like Grant Gustin. He's effectively Grant Gustin, but he's not Reverse Flash. He's temp. Hang on. Bizarro, not Kingdom Come, not Red Death, not Johnny Quick, not The Crash, not Female Flash, not Nazi Speedster.
What's his
Accelerated Man.
What is his deal?
He's very quick, but he's also a Nazi.
He's got some strong beliefs, but he likes running.
I don't think Nazis can be described as strong beliefs, can they?
I don't want to both sides the Nazi situation. I think he's wrong. I think he's fine to run, but everything else about him is wrong, Shaun.
You know what? I would agree with you that everything about Nazi Flash is wrong.
If this turns out to be fucking Reverse Flash, I'm not going to be happy.
But would they do that? Would they introduce Reverse Flash in a movie where we're basically learning all about the Flash?
Yes, this is the DCEU.
Savitar, that's his name. Okay, Savitar, a time remnant of Barry Allen that split off and lived a life of its own.
Oh,
then
okay,
became
sorry.
evil.
I do apologise.
To be fair, in Flashpoint could work, you know. He's
going around to different timelines. You just have a bad Flash.
So you have so then you have, I guess, the Flash that was left behind.
Well,
maybe?
I mean, there is precedent for that in the Justice League series where when they're hopping around time, they get to a point where the Justice League have basically taken over America. And, they're seen as, Batman meets Batman. But the Batman he meets is, he's all about control, which regular Batman is, but he's we should control the people. And so him and Superman and Wonder Woman, lead the country, and they just crack down at anyone. So there's no crime, because they just kill them.
Maybe that's it. Zoom would probably work better as, the serial killer that he is. That's a pretty good villain for a Flash origin movie, I would say.
Yeah, and I think in Flashpoint, Barry Allen blames Mr. Tone, basically Reverse Flash, and he blames him for all of the time traveling stuff that's misfortune. But you could have Reverse Flash in it. I think, I'll be honest, I find Barry Allen fighting somebody who's also really fast boring, but also I understand because he's basically a god, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, it could, because once two super quick, super speed people are fighting each other, it might as well be two regular speed people fighting each other. Which is why I think it should be Captain Cold should be the villain.
I think it should be Mirror Master.
Mirror Master, you've done a report on and is fucking ridiculous.
I think he's a ludicrous character, but is really fucked up, and you could do a really cool storyline, but you couldn't do it in a Flashpoint storyline. So I think Flashpoint, you have to go down the road that Barry finds a bad version of himself, and he's just the bad version of himself is happy being, I don't know, a god in his universe, and is trying to stop this time travelling happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, maybe set up Mirror Master as a bigger bad then. That like
They're not going to set up Mirror Master as a bigger
his
bad.
mirror can see any universe and any parallel dimension and, you know, move forward from there.
I love Mirror Master, but they definitely will not use him. Even though he's so cool, like he just traps Flash in a universe of mirrors. And he's like, okay, talk to you later. You can only exit through one mirror. Sorry, I'll leave now. Have fun.
Yeah, it's like if you find the mirror, fine, but there's infinite mirrors. There's infinite mirrors in this room.
Look, that is of course just a rumour that we don't know, but we haven't heard anything about the villain in that movie, so it makes sense that if we're going off the CW, they will just do a character who's just as fast as the Flash fighting the Flash.
Yeah, which, look, fine, I guess, but... like, and that would have been grand 8 years ago. That would have been a perfectly suitable opposition to the Flash.
I would have said even season 1 of the Flash. I was like, I'm intrigued. This guy's just as quick. Who's just as quick as the Flash? I don't know.
The Flash. But even like season 1, the Flash, they had it like Eobard Thawne was in the Star Labs. He was in Star Labs, but he was like a wheelchair user. Tom Kavanagh, JD's brother in Scrubs.
Exactly. So, like, but there's a whole plot point. Whereas I remember coming back into it. If people like The Flash, that's absolutely fine. But I kind of left it for a few years, and then I came back, and I was like, "Oh, the big bad is another fast guy from a different universe." Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I had to choose between Flash and Arrow. And I chose Arrow because I couldn't keep up with two shows. Then I couldn't even keep up with Arrow beyond a certain point. And so I dropped it there. So, like, the last time I remember watching The Flash, I think he was getting ready to fight, like, Grodd at that point.
Oh, okay. You could have Grodd as the villain. I would have Grodd as the villain.
Grodd would be good because that's, like, it's a Flash villain, traditionally. But he's a different level of power. Like, he's an intelligent character who's also a gorilla. So you have like this, you know, mind versus speed kind of a deal. Yeah,
or like you could just do King Shark. Just have when King Shark is introduced. Or Captain Boomerang. Wait. Oh.
No. Oh, no.
Now, speaking of Captain Boomerang, Shaun, it takes us to our last story of the week. And that involves another one of our favourite directors, Mr. James Gunn. That a little movie came out recently called The Suicide Squad. And we know that he is already helming the Peacemaker spin-off series for HBO Max. But Shaun, not only is after he goes back to Marvel... He's going back because he's doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and he's doing a holiday special over there. James Gunn has reportedly more plans for the DC's Villainverse. That it is reported that they could be bringing him back into the DC universe after he goes back to Marvel. So he's the first person to just hop between the two.
I mean, why wouldn't they want him back? Presumably, they'll just offer him any amount of money necessary to get him back after the success of the Suicide Squad. Because it seems anything he touches turns to gold at this point.
And I think for the Suicide Squad, he's the perfect director. I think they've just nailed that, he's the guy. If you want to do a Suicide Squad film and make a lot of money and introduce a whole bunch of characters that we can now make spin-offs of, we should probably just bring in James Gunn, because he'll make us like them.
Yeah, like, to put things in perspective, Suicide Squad... Oh no, sorry, wait... I'm looking at the one from 2016. Hang on. Wait a minute. Oh wait, it still brings it up. Hang on. The Suicide Squad box.
Just click on the link that has 2021 beside it.
Oh, I need to type in 2021, Connor.
For God's sake.
Okay, hang on. So in the first week, it's made $118 million in a week across the world, with COVID and Delta and no digital release in sight. So that's what it's working with. But it's been, like, commercially and critically very positive, I would think. Certainly more than the original Suicide Squad.
True.
So why wouldn't they want to get that director back? Do you think they might... Okay, this is a question I already know the answer to. Do you think Disney would be so petty as to create an exclusivity deal with certain directors?
I mean, they would, because you don't become a monopoly without just destroying everybody. But I think James Gunn has the sway that he doesn't have to put that in his contract. He's already done 2 movies for them and made them an awful lot of money. And it'd be very similar to Jon Favreau. If they were like, we only want you to do Iron Man films, he's like, no, I'm going to do whatever I want. I think James Gunn has the same privilege, that he can kind of swap between the two. And he even said himself, talking during the press junket, this is where this news story has come out, is that he has this is his quote, I have all sorts of ideas, and we talk about all the time. So I don't feel I'm done with this Villainverse just yet. I want to come back. So
Villainverse.
He says Villainverse, which I think maybe he refers to as his Suicide Squad universe. That's like its own little weird corner that he could just kill off people whenever he wants and bring in more C and D listers.
I guess so, yeah, because like how many C and D list villains are there in DC? Probably infinite for all intents and purposes.
I also think Margot Robbie would want him to direct a movie. I know Margot Robbie has spoken of stepping away as Harley Quinn, but she said the one thing that would bring her back is if they brought in Poison Ivy in some capacity. So if you had a situation where there was a Harley Quinn and a Poison Ivy property, I mean, Margot Robbie, the first person she would go to would probably be James Gunn now, after what he did for her in this film, because I think she's pretty perfect as Harley Quinn in this as well. Or even Birds of Prey. I mean, she was pretty great in both of them, but it's just a case of what you'd be looking for. And
that's it. And I think that's part of the reason why she said she was stepping back, is that like after Birds of Prey and the Suicide Squad, it was a lot of Harley Quinn all at once, and she wanted to kind of try other things, and just like she's not fully done with the character, but she's just taking a little bit of a break. And
they wanted him to direct Suicide Squad when he came in. Like, that was what DC pitched to him. They were like, we want you to take Superman. And he was like, no, I'd like the Suicide Squad instead.
He wanted Justice League, sorry.
Sorry, what do you mean?
He was offered Justice League?
No, he was offered Superman. Exclusively Superman.
Oh, right.
And so then they brought up Suicide Squad. So they were the first 2 things that they pitched to him. And he was said, I mean, he looked at the 2 pitches, but he wanted to do Suicide Squad because it was more him, which I could understand. But now the fact is, they could bring him back to do Justice League if they wanted. They could bring him back to do anything, because now he's in, and he's got free reign. And I think the best thing they did was they just let him do whatever he wanted. And it's kind of like they've brought him in, and they know he's going back to like his wife, but they're like the mistress, like, no, like seriously, we'll wait, cool,
we'll be here.
How long you need?
You just give me a text. I'll be ready to go. Yeah, and I guess, but also maybe like he likes, because his apparently contract in DC was like, I get to do whatever I want. Like, maybe he likes that freedom as well. Whereas I feel Marvel, even after everything, they're not going to let James Gunn do an R-rated Guardians of the Galaxy. That's just never going to happen.
He could do a sequel to Birds of Prey, like an R-rated sequel to Birds of Prey.
My God, how much I want that.
Wouldn't that be great? And you bring in like, Batgirl and Poison Ivy.
Yeah, just flesh out that universe. I think that's the thing, is that, like, leaving James Gunn out of it and everything like that, I would love for that universe to have something happen in one movie and have it really fucking stick in the next one. Because at the minute it seems like, aside from all of Metropolis being demolished by Superman, nothing else matters in that whole movie.
Yeah, it was all just random punches. Random punches at different sections of a wall, but they never actually joined up.
Yeah, like no one in any of the DC movies acknowledges that Shazam happened. Like, that's just not a thing that's ever cropped up.
And I mean, they could be doing a Bloodsport movie now. I think they're talking of doing a movie with Idris Elba, and I think he'd be perfect in that role. And you have several characters in that film that they could spin off. Like Peacemaker alone, he's already working on that on HBO Max.
Yeah, that's true. Like now, I feel like the likes of Bloodsport, I feel he works really well in that team environment. So I don't know how well he would work. Now, look, it's Idris Elba, so he'd probably work really, really well in a solo film, just based on the actor. But the particular character, I feel like the Suicide Squad, he really shuns so much. I think to just have him on his own, it'll be a harder sell, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and look, we don't really know at the minute, but what's interesting is that James Gunn has not put it out of the fact that I thought it was always going to be a one and done. They'd get him in, he'd go back to Marvel, he'd do Guardians of the Galaxy, and he'd have lots of fun over there. But I mean, he's probably the hottest commodity in terms of directors between the two of them, and they both want him, which I think for him, fucking great stuff. Ask whatever you want. Yeah, like, oh, what are you going to give me? $500,000? They said they were going to give me $2 million. Sorry, I'm going to go over here.
It's going to be like the ask your mother, not ask your father, like that whole thing.
Yeah, but yeah, so that is the last news story of the week, Shaun. I'm excited to see what James Gunn does next. If you haven't seen The Suicide Squad, go out and see it. It's delightfully mad. Although there was a lot of people on our Facebook page. Did you see that?
Oh yeah.
we put up a Facebook post promoting our review of the show, and there was like several random comments underneath that were like, it's shit, it's so shit, oh, it's the worst movie ever. And then someone commented like something about us, and I was like, we didn't make the film. But the implication was we did a bad job producing the film, which, to be honest with you, you did a terrible job producing that film.
Look, to be fair, I was no help in the production of The Suicide Squad 2021. Look, I'll be the first to say that, guys.
If you haven't seen that, go check it out. I was like, I thought the vibe was much stronger and positive for this film.
Yeah, I felt like the general like voice of the people was like, oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, guys. But look, we've been wrong before. Luckily, everyone was on board with the National Treasure review. So,
and where can they get that, Shaun?
At least they can get that on the Patreon, Connor. Speaking of which, thank you to everyone who has listened to this show. Thank you especially to everyone who supports us over on Patreon, patreon.com/Heroes for Hire podcast. As we've mentioned multiple times in this episode, you can get movie reviews over there. We also do reviews for things like Loki, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier. All those kinds of things are up there as well. $5 or more a month to get access to those. And you do also get a shout out in the show for your troubles. So big thank you goes out to Please Get Vaccinated, Ciara Lawler, David Clarke, Ed Ball, Joe Burney. Oh, sorry, Joe changed his name actually, and I'm not quite sure how to read this one. So I'm going to just interpret it in my own way. Okay. So, Joe, King Shark, do. King Shark, do.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Do. King Shark, Bernie.
Nom.
Hand. Róisín, Schrödóisìn, Hally, Ryan Right Time, Evanson, Shaun, Heroes Don't Do That, Jamieson, Dominic, Jessiah, Florida Gal Green, Anna, Go Ducks, Hjelmroos, Lil Dicky. Who would win, Slipknot the band or Slipknot the DC character, McGrew?
I mean, the answer to every question involving the Slipknot DC character is he would obviously win. I mean, the man can climb anything.
That's true. That is very true. I mean, look, I suppose with Slipknot you have this duality. It's all a bit psychosocial in my mind. Do Slipknot
the band have any women that he can punch?
To be clear, I'm not laughing at punching women. I'm laughing at because Slipknot in his introduction just punches a woman straight in the face.
Two things he does: punches a woman, gets his head blown off. There's two things.
That's true. And on that basis, see, the thing is that like it's Slipknot is just a man with climbing abilities.
Yeah.
If he's in like an open field, he's just a man.
Yeah,
So-
but Slipknot the band, they might be good at climbing charts, but can they climb a building? I don't think so.
It depends on the turf. So what I would say is we'll elaborate on this question next week on Movie Mondays if we can get a quick view on what the turf is that we're actually fighting on.
Okay.
Perfect. And so thank you also then to Danny McLaughlin, Ray, sorry for that outburst, have a custard cream on me, Luke Hoth, and I can't believe Wanda did this. Now, I think we would all agree that Wanda would defeat both Slipknot and Slipknot the band.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I mean, she's got magic, but can she climb a building?
She can fly, Connor. So
Can she climb, though?
The jury's out, I would say, on her climbing ability.
Exactly.
So thank you to everyone for supporting
And a
the
woman.
show.
She's a woman.
Jesus Christ.
It's two things. That's one of his two things.
His two targets is rock walls and women.
Such a shit character.
Such a terrible human, but he's somehow the patron Suicide Squad member of the podcast. But look, if you want to support the show, we would really appreciate it. You can head over there. We also have a merch store link down below. You can get t-shirts and hats and backpacks and cushions and all those kinds of things. You can follow us on Twitter at Heroes for Hire Pod. The 4 is the number 4. Facebook is Detective Divilment's discussion group. Please help us. We're being told that we made the Suicide Squad badly. So if anyone could defend our honour over there in some kind of duel, that would be amazing. Also, we're on Instagram, Heroes for Hire Podcast, or you can email us any questions to heroesforhire_@outlook.com. But the most important thing that you can ever do to help out the show is by telling one human being that we exist.
Just the one, please.
And I think that's about it, Connor.
I think so. So I have been Conor Lawler.
I have been Shaun Meehan.
And we shall see you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.